bright and early here on the East Coast. We'll start at 9 a.m. We'll watch 6 rounds of action. Also have a metagame breakdown from Ken Crocker as well. Temple Epiphany is where Fear will start. Jim will start with a Dismal Backwater. He is up to 21 as round number 9 does begin. Another Temple Epiphany here for Harlan. Top card down to the bottom. There's an Island. Remember, Jim does play multiple copies of Clash of Wills, the brand new counterspell from Magic Origins.
Very punishing on these Jeskai aggro builds that don't get the ball rolling until turn 3 a good percentage of the time. Blue-black control was lacking a good counterspell for the spots unless you were playing with dragons and had access to Slumgar Scorn. But now with Clash of Wills, you have ways to be productive on the draw in this spot.
There's a Rabble Master. See if Jim does have Clash of Wills here. He does. I'll take care of the Rabble Master. Back Davis's way will go. A Swamp and a pass. Fear will draw. He'll play a Battlefield Forge and looks like simply pass the turn back. Davis will draw a card. Lands don't appear to be an issue for Jim just yet. Does have Evolving Wilds to play for the turn. And he'll just pass the turn back over to Fear. Fear will draw, and he'll pass the turn back too. Jim will take a moment and sacrifice his Evolving Wilds. Again, playing that card simply as another way to put a land in the graveyard for dig through time.
And we also saw Jeff did have some issues with colored mana at times in Chicago. So an extra dual land, not that this is exactly a dual land, you know, it doesn't produce blue and black mana, but it is a mana fixer. And for a deck that has a pretty heavy element of colorless lands for a deck like this, not bad to have an extra source of mana fixing.
That kind of plays the same way. Not the exact same way, obviously. Jim going to replace a Broken Sleeve here, but it does seem to play pretty close to the same way. Now he'll finish shuffling and then move on to take his next turn. And Harlan's draw doesn't really seem to be all that functional at this point because outside of that Rabble Master, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, it's an issue that this deck has game 1 in this kind of matchup. There's a lot of lightning strikes and wild slashes and cards that are just hard to use productively. So if your first creature or two gets answered, you're often straining to deal any damage. And you see now Jim's at 21 and having no disruption here, able to make his land drops and play his card drawing spells. And Harlan's already in big trouble.
Just resolved a copy of Artificer's Epiphany. So drew 2 and discarded 1. No artifact on the battlefield just yet for Jim. Now he's going to play a copy of Ashok. See if this resolves for Davis. Fear with a lot of burn spells in hand. Going to exile 3 cards. Soulfire Grandmaster is one that Jim will have access to. Harlan has also joined the Ojutai's Command Parade. He's got 3 copies in his main deck this weekend.
Though this is another matchup where it's not going to be very good. On top of his burn spells, he's got a lot of dead weight or close to dead weight in game 1. These cards like Stoke the Flames and Ojutai's Command, they can be good in spots where Jim is already behind or he's getting rocked, but in a game like this, they are not doing very much.
There's another Clash of Wills here from Davis. That'll take care of the Stoke the Flames. That was going to go after Ashiok. So the Planeswalkers will remain at 5 loyalty. Fear will very quickly shuffle Davis's deck, and we'll see what he can put together for his 5th turn. He already played a land for the turn. Now he's got to dig through time. So it's a nice window to resolve that card. And Jace among the cards he's looking at here. He's got to actually find something to do, though.
Yeah, he just needs threat cards.
That's the big problem right now. So he'll take a look at 7 and, of course, select 2. And then we'll head back Davis's way where he'll have an active Ashok, among other things. It looks like Fear is happy with what he's selected, or at least happy enough. Let's say that.
Jason, another dig through time.
Those aren't bad cards to find.
This would be a great spot for Jim to have Thopter Spy Network, especially with the Citadel to pair with it. And Harlan putting him under no pressure.
He wants a Soulfire Grandmaster first. Oh, okay.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's a pretty good turn. That's an activation of Soulfire Grandmaster to be able to rebuy dig through time. That's a good turn. That's a good turn right there. Soulfire Grandmaster is a heck of a card, man.
You can't really play it in pure control decks because it's just a target for spot removal that would otherwise be dead. And it doesn't go active all the time in the decks that it's in because they tilt a little bit more aggressive. But sometimes you get spots like this where you get to play it off of your Ashok and then it's awesome. And if Harlan kills it, you don't really care. It wasn't even yours to begin with.
And Davison, I'll pass the turn back. You have to imagine, Soulfire Grandmaster needs an answer, Ashok needs an answer, and then Jim's hand needs an answer. So Harlan's in a pretty tough spot right now. There's a Temple. Take a look at the top card. That'll become the bottom card.
Valorous Dance, another card that's contributing to Harlan's not necessarily dead card problem, but not efficient card problem.
Yeah. He's drawing a lot of C minuses.
Yes.
They're not completely terrible. That's why they're not F minuses, but they're certainly not A pluses.
Now you can use the Lightning Strike to finish off the Ashok, and maybe your Jace stays around. And it's not, the cards aren't doing nothing, but they're not doing a whole lot.
There is Jace. I think the question for Harlan is, what do you want, a Lightning Strike? He's going to go with the Soulfire Grandmaster. Could have went after Ashok there, but decided, you know what, we're okay. Ashok's up to 5. 3 cards will be turned over. A couple of lands and Wild Slash. So nothing of relevance there. There's an ultimate price. That'll take care of Jace. Don't want to let that thing hang around. That's for darn sure. Harlan very quickly, I believe, just draws and says go.
He's got Dig Through Time, Stoke the Flames, and 2 copies of Ojutai's Command.
Ashok going up. Stoke a Flooded Strand and a Jace. Sure, Jim wouldn't mind a Jace on his side. Ashok looks to be a card that's pretty well positioned right now.
We're seeing a lot of kind of slow decks with a lot of 3 and 4 and even 2 mana creatures.
Yeah. Polluted Delta will be sacrificed.
I feel like Ashok is likely to be good against the types of decks that Jace promotes.
There's a basic island. Now it's temple time. Top card to the bottom. And now here's Ochitai's command. So this could be rebuy a creature, draw a card.
So the most likely modes, I would
I
suspect.
can't imagine Harlan has any interest in gaining life, and of course there's no creature to counter right now, so we'll see if Jim is going to let this resolve or not. Jim does have a dissolve in hand, and he'll be using it. He'll also be scrying to the bottom here. So a no-go there for Ochitai's command, as Harlan will draw a card. It's just an island. I'll just pass the turn back over to Davis. Davis looking to continue to keep his stranglehold on this game with his Ashok. And a really good hand. We can't forget Jim still has a dig through time in his hand too.
Yep, being very patient. We've seen this before with Jim. When he gets into a commanding position, but not necessarily a lock, just way far ahead, you see him be very, very cautious with the way that he manages his resources. Only wants to use things like Hero's Downfalls and dissolves on absolutely key cards.
Saw Jim play Temple there. Well, here's Ochitai's command again. Jim countered it the last time. We'll see if maybe he wants to counter it again this time. Harlan running out of resources really quickly.
And he's just got so many poor draws in the deck.
Hero's Downfall going to take care of Jace. Not even willing to let that live.
The upshot is at least Harlan's creatures are all pretty threatening right now. Soulfire, Grandmaster, and Jace are both good because the game's dragged out for a while. And the 3-drops are still powerful if Harlan gets his hands on them.
Here's an attempt at dig through time. See what Jim has to counterspell for this. If he did, I think he'd counter pretty quickly. So this is going to resolve. Harlan gets to look at 7 cards, of course. He'll take 2 with him. So the Flames' last card in hand. Two cards. Other 5 to the bottom. Now Jim says, don't take your turn just yet because I want to dig through time as well. So now Jim will do the same. Take a look at 7 and take 2.
Just look at Jim's life total. Harlan's got so much work left to do. You know, in terms of just the card count issues, Harlan's doing okay right now. He's resolved multiple copies of Dig Through Time, and I think he's actually found a 3rd copy of the second one he just resolved. It's just his draw steps are so much worse than Jim's on average. He has a lot of dead or close to dead draws, and Jim's got 19 points to work with.
Yeah. That's really the big issue. Here's Mantis Rider. But Mantis Rider has so much work to do. Clash of Wills the draw. Thopter Spy Network in hand now too. Jim might be in turn the corner mode here. Rabble Master, a creature that's found there for Ashok, has the powerful Planeswalkers up to 8 loyalty.
it's conceivable that Jim could win the game by decking.
Yeah.
I think it's less likely to happen than by damage at some point, but
I think it's pretty unlikely, but I also understand what you're saying. Stoke the Flame's going to go upstairs. Saw Languish take care of that Mantis Rider. There's dig through time again for Harlan. It's just basically a dig through time mirror.
I think that now Harlan is out of copies of Dig Through Time.
Yeah. He plays 3.
I mean, just look at that Dig Through Time. Some lands, Valorous Stance, Wild Slash, and some creatures that are not that impactful at this stage of the game.
Rubbish. That's what it is. Perhaps it's Rubash. Either way, can't help him.
Rubash.
There's a Mystic Monastery. There's a Soulfire Grandmaster. We'll see how long this gets to last. Harlan can do a decent job of converting after sideboard with some counter magic and Dragonlord Ojutais, but game 1, he's unless he gets off to a really fast start, pretty heavy dog.
And he mulliganed into a turn 3 play that got hit by Clash of Wills, and it's been all downhill from there.
And that's something before Magic Origins that these blue control decks did not have access to.
Yep.
They had a really tough time playing on the draw. They had to play cards like Nullify and really change their mana base around. That's not the case anymore. So I'm sure Clash of Wills, while not a perfect card, it is a welcome addition.
Yeah.
Here's Dig Through Time again for Jim.
It can be bad in the games that drag out for a really long time, just like those effects always are.
I always find that kind of counterspell effect to be pretty underrated, though.
I agree. Because the control deck is not as concerned about a dead card on turn 10 as it is about surviving on turns 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And Clash of Wills is very good at making sure you survive through the first couple turns of the game.
It's not the sexiest card.
Oh!
But it's good enough. Jim trying to go beatdowns. Oh, the fun has been stopped. I thought for a minute Jim might dissolve that Wild Slash, but that would be a little aggressive.
No.
That'd be a little aggressive.
He's got Thopter Spy Network and Ashok. He can win with either of those cards. It would just be faster to do it with the Rabble Master.
If you've ever seen Jim play, one of the things that's always great about watching him play is he's so disciplined with the counter magic, and he even shows a dissolve there and says, yeah, I've got you beat a couple different ways right now, my friend.
No way out of it from that point.
Jim Davis going to win game number 1 here over Harlan Fear. Blue-black control up a game over Jeskai Aggro as we take a look at the sideboards, and we're going to start with Harlan. I mentioned how he can shift over to a controlling strategy, or at least try to go toe-to-toe and get some of these bad cards out of his deck. 3 Disdainful Stroke, a Valor Stance, a Roast, 2 Negates, a Glare of Heresy, 3 Anger of the Gods, and Hostilities, a Dig Through Time, and then 2 Dragonlord Ojutai.
Straightforward stuff here. I think 3 copies of Disdainful Stroke, the 2 copies of Negate, 2 copies of Dragonlord Ojutai, and the 1 Dig Through Time will replace some of the Lightning Strike, Wild Slash, Valorous Stance type of cards in the deck.
Wild Slash, one of the first ones to go here, I think.
Yep.
What do we see on Jim's side?
2 copies of Negate, 3 copies of Thoughtseize, 2 copies of Tassicker, the Golden Fang, an Ultimate Price, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Bioblight, 2 Drown in Sorrow, and 1 Ugin. So Jim's going to want to shore up his vulnerability to Harlan's early game aggression. So Bioblights, Drown in Sorrows, those are pretty good. I also think he can anticipate that Harlan is going to be sideboarding into a larger package of counter spells and just more late game attrition type of stuff. So I don't mind bringing in the copies of Negate. I think Ultimate Price and Tassicker are both solid in this matchup as well.
And those are the options there for both players. And we'll see how they elect to sideboard. Jim Davis very heavily favored in game number 1, however, with his blue-black control deck. You just saw that game unfold. We'll very quickly talk about the Star City Games YouTube page, where you can watch the replay of this match and all Open Series events.
A lot of great content. You can head over to youtube.com/StarCityGames. Become a subscriber today. Check out all the archives, including Open Series events and premium articles, versus series videos, and there's some content that's exclusive to the page, like unboxings. Again, it's free to sign up over at youtube.com/StarCityGames. Become a subscriber today. Get information when we upload new content to the page.
And the F word, of course.
Free.
Free, yeah. There it is again. Davis versus Fear, number 2 versus number 15 on the Open Series leaderboard. Of course, Jim Davis, a player from the New York area who's kind of torn around the Midwest right now. Was in Chicago, now he's on the East Coast here in Richmond, and of course he's qualified for our Players' Championship. He's 30 years old, he's a Long Islander.
Yes, along with the Jessups.
2 invitational top 8s, in 2011 and 2014, 8 Open Series top 8s with a win in Indianapolis earlier this year, and a Grand Prix top 8 with Goblins at Grand Prix Dallas 2007. Teaches writing at a private school. In addition to teaching, he's a local DJ. He hosts a show every Monday, and he's a big hockey guy.
Do you know what his DJ name is? I found this out because he wore a shirt with his DJ name on it from some event.
Okay, so I know that he DJs for a station, I believe it's called Say What Radio.
I think that's right.
But I don't know his DJ name.
DJ JD writes itself.
Oh, I see, because then you flip it?
Right.
So that's just good. That's good.
Great. Great DJ name.
Yeah, that's just a great DJ
DJ
name.
JD.
He makes it look really easy. Jim Davis, number 84. That's his hockey number. I know that. And DJ, I'm gonna shift that up. Call him DJ JD now.
Yeah,
a little bit. As far as Harlan Fear is concerned, we saw him win an Open last year in Richmond, and of course, he's a big Steelers fan. We all know that. We see him with the Steelers jersey a lot of the time. A 20-year-old from Charlottesville, Virginia. Also, he donates his hair. Did you know?
Grows it out.
Yeah.
And then donates it to charity. Admirable stuff.
Yeah, so it's rather lengthy right now, as you'll see when we do pan back to the match. He's a former wrestler, and perhaps I could challenge him to a match.
Now that's something I would watch.
Yeah?
Former wrestler going at it against another former wrestler. The martial arts match makes me apprehensive, worried someone's going to get hurt. Asymmetry in style is an easy way for someone to get damaged in a fight. 2 wrestlers, I would watch that.
Well, I could just get decimated by Rudy in the karate match.
Right, that's what I'm saying. There's a risk there. But 2 wrestlers.
That's fine. I don't mind that.
You say that now. I mean, it's easier to say that when you're in the booth, not getting beat up.
Well, you're not wrong about that either.
Right.
See, Harlan's got the ponytail. He's growing that bad boy out again. I don't think your hair can get very long. I can't imagine my hair could ever.
No,
really
we are way past the point where I'm in donate to charity. I mean, you can find my first Pro Tour was Pro Tour New Orleans 2001. And I think that was when my hair was the longest. There's also a photo of me in either the top 4 or the finals of the Team Grand Prix in DC.
Okay.
That's me at my longest hair.
That's when it was as long as it could go?
Yeah, you can find the top 4 photo of myself, Adam Horvath, and Osip Levitovich. GPDC, I think 2005.
I know that photo. It was 2004 for the
2004.
record. Yeah. I'm fairly sure I know that photo.
That's, I think, the most hair I've ever had in my life.
Just letting it grow.
About 45 pounds lighter also.
I'll tell you, that tournament was a lot of fun.
It was good.
That's old memories right there. But I remember that was a tournament where just me and some guys at the local store. It was after I top 8 at Grand Prix Columbus. We decided let's go play some Magic a bunch of different places, see what happens. And we had a pretty fun run. Played against some really good players then. Didn't make day 2, but had a blast. One of my decks had Arcbound Ravager and Pulse of the Forge. That was back when you could mana burn too.
So Harlan has brought in his copies of Anger of the Gods. And I understand that insofar as it's a fine answer to Hangerback Walker, but I don't think Harlan can take that kind of position in the matchup. I don't think Hangerback Walker is so critical for Jim that it's worth Harlan diluting his deck for.
I agree with you a lot. To me, that's extreme sideboarding.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible Harlan's looking at his deck and says, Wild Slash, Lightning Strike, Ojutai's Command, Valorous Stance. There's so much dead weight to pull out of there that maybe you can afford to have Anger of the Gods, but I still don't buy it.
You can just discard to Jace.
Yes, he can.
It's just discard fodder.
Yeah, just say nothing of the fact that Harlan's got Manus Riders and Chases and Soulfire Grandma. Yes.
Yeah, that's where that should be.
All right.
In the graveyard. See, because it's a non-bow with what's on the
I
battlefield.
really like the curve of 2-drop into 3-drop while discarding Anger of the Gods along the way.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
I want to get that Anger of the Gods out of my deck. See if Jim has an answer for this Mantis Rider. He'll play a Darksteel Citadel past the turn back. The thing about Mantis Rider, and if you've ever played against Jeskai or with it, truthfully, you get a hit, you get 2 hits, it's pretty hard to lose.
And this is where, you get punished for the artifact nature of the deck with these Darksteel Citadels is you can't cast this all from here. You can't cast Bioblight or other cheap removal
Hero's
stuff.
Downfall.
Hero's Downfall.
There's a real cost. Now, you do get to cast Artificer's Epiphany and actually draw 2, so that's certainly nice, but
Ding-a-ling.
yeah, there's a real cost here. And that's getting punched in the face by Mantis Rider.
That's not what you're looking to do on the 3rd turn of the game against the board that Harlan has right now.
Yeah. And that's where the trouble arises, and Jim now has another copy of Darksteel Citadel. So you want to turn that Thopter Spy Network on? I get that. It's a good card. But you got to pay the price. And that's definitely what's happening right now in this game.
Yeah, Jim with Languish in hand right now that he can't cast. Oof. Couldn't even cast the Thopter Spy Network if he had it. It's hanging back.
It's growing. Growing while it hangs back. Draw a card.
Also, given the way this game has gone thus far, it's hard for me to imagine this is the card out of Jim's deck that Harlan needs to find an answer for.
It's not even the card that beat him in the first game. There's Basic Island. There's a Jace activation. Discard a Temple of Triumph, will Harlan. Feral draw. Looks like another copy of Dig Through Time. He is situated much better to play a control game.
Yes.
He'll activate Jace one more time. See if Davis has a response to this activation. It appears he does not. Fear will have to discard a card. It looks like he might be discarding Stoke, and he will. Now Jace is going to transform into the Telepath Unbound. And now, after moving up, here comes Mantis Rider. That's another hit with that. Davis down to 7. Hanging Back Walker, going to grow a little bit.
Hanging back.
Yep. Davis will draw. Needs a black source real bad. That's a Clash of Wills. That's neat.
Fails to qualify.
Accurate. Not sure Jim's going to be able to wiggle his way out of this one. Mantis Rider's gotten in more hits than basically I've ever seen. I'm going to discard Clash of Wills. Mantis Rider in. Down to 4. We've seen some really unusual games this weekend.
Yeah.
Like this one. Here's a Dig Through Time. Yeah, probably countering that. Yeah, there's a Disdainful Stroke. Harlan's got nothing great to flash back. I suppose he's got to Stoke the Flames down there. But he can always just kind of threaten that. Jim is having really bad mana issues. Yeah, shrug, pass.
Listen, dude, you're the one who put the Darksteel Citadels in your deck.
Tack, down to 1.
If one of those is a swamp, this is a different game.
Hanging back. Draw a card. Yep, Polluted Delta.
Perfect.
Harlan
Perfect.
Harlan Fear is going to win game 2 here against Jim Davis. Jeskai aggro and blue-black controller tied up. Just a perfect draw on the last turn. Oh, that's great.
Yep.
That is really great.
You got to see the hidden costs of the artifact deck, which are the Darksteel Citadel's color screwing someone while Hanger Back Walker does nothing.
The 1-2 punch. That's the 1-2 punch right there.
Just hanging out, growing while Jim's color screwed. Can't block anything.
That was really something.
It's a delightful game sometimes.
We will talk very quickly about the summer collection here on with Star City Games. We've got playmat sleeves and bundles of our friends from SCG Game Night.
Yeah, this is the summer collection: the piglet, the monkey, the squid, and Deathrite salmon.
It's a Kraken, man. It's a Kraken.
Excuse me, Kraken.
There you go.
Sorry.
Thank you.
The September kit. All of this available playmats, sleeves, and bundles over at StarCityGames.com/creature collection, or head over to our dealer booth at any of our opens or any Grand Prix that we're vending at.
I think Deathrite Salmon is probably the best of the parody ones so far.
I really like it. The artwork is also just so conducive to a million fish puns.
Yeah.
It's great.
I'm a really, really big fan of what's going on here. StarCityGames.com/creature collection for more information. We had Delver Squeakerts. What was the one before that? From the winter collection. Oh, Eternal Witness.
Eternal Witness.
Eternal Witness was super cool and really popular. Tough to say which one's better. I suppose we'll find out soon enough. I'm still a big fan of the monkey taking the bananas, though.
Yep. As I predicted, it turned out the monkey was actually stealing them.
Yeah. Predictable, really.
Well, you know, generally speaking, when you see someone running with something and some of what they're running with is falling down behind them and they don't seem that concerned, fair bet most of the time it's something that's stolen.
Again, just from a general sense.
Right.
Harlan, Fear, Jim Davis. They'll be underway here for our final game and round of the tournament today. Of course, tomorrow we come back bright and early.
Someone running down the street with a sack of money, 20s are flying out of it. They're not stopping to pick them up. Good chance, I'm not saying for sure, but good chance that money's stolen.
Well, I've watched a lot of movies, and oftentimes it's just stolen.
Yep.
Yeah. I should rephrase that. I've watched a lot of bad movies.
Yeah. That's just assumed.
Yeah, where that money is stolen. They don't care to pick it up. But I enjoy a bad movie, so who cares? I see someone's tweeted the picture of...
Yeah, someone found it.
Yeah, someone's tweeted the picture of you at Grand Prix Washington, D.C. Young Patrick Sullivan, old Osip Lebedovich.
He was young at the time.
He's always been old.
Late 20s, I think,
Yeah,
at the time.
he's always been old.
Adam Horvath,
Who's always been young.
a former great,
Yep.
good Pro Tour career.
Who most don't know.
Most don't know. Derailed by World of Warcraft and then a real job.
That happens to most, actually. Most do know that.
But he was great.
Yeah.
Went to high school with myself, Eugene Harvey,
That's just a Magic playing high school. Right
Anand
there.
Kare.
Yeah, that's 4 people who play Magic.
We had some other. Mike Stein, another could have been, should have been.
I didn't have like anyone that played Magic in my high school. Just a loner.
Yeah. Turns out it helps.
I mean, I loved it, but they all went to surrounding schools. Davis will start with an island. Mystic Monastery here for Harlan. Jim with an Urborg. That's going to be helpful. That was missing last game. There's a flooded strand. We'll see what Harlan wants here. If it'll be an island or plains, it'll be the latter. And now a Jace. Going to put Jim to the test right away. That's the other thing I really like about this card, too, is that Jace is immediately, you better answer this.
Yep.
That's my favorite aspect of the card. And it lines up so beautifully in Jeskai. He's on turn 2, Jace requires an answer, and if they do kill it, then you get to hit him with Mantis Rider. So I'm a really, really big fan, as long as the mana cooperates, because there's no guarantee your lands will enter the battlefield untapped. But I really like how it works in this deck.
And the deck utilizes the flashback power so well. It's got just a load of offensive, proactive spells, which is what you want to be flashing back with Jace.
You saw Jim cast an Artificer's Epiphany. Darcy sit it on the battlefield, so no discard necessary. Harlan just waiting very patiently with his Jace. Davis will play land number 4, which is an island. He'll pass the turn back. Jace will go active. Time to draw and discard. Fear discard of Plains. Davis says, go ahead. I have no answer for that card yet. And Dragonlord Ochitai the draw here for Fear. He'll play a Shivan Reef. Pass the turn back. Davis will cast Artificer's Epiphany again. Untap, and now he'll draw. Might actually have to discard this turn. Jim with a lot of cards in hand. He'll start by playing Polluted Delta. And now, he'll cast the Hero's Downfall, able to use Polluted Delta for black mana because of the Urborg on the battlefield. Jace will go active, draw and discard. Now here's Ochitai's command, and that's going to be a Clash of Will.
Great turn for Jim.
Yes, it is. Well, Harlan might have a good turn himself. That's land number 5 that enters the battlefield untapped. He'll search up an island. I believe we're going to have a Dragon Lord Ojutai on the way.
A couple of these out of the sideboard, 2 copies.
Yep. That's pretty scary stuff as Davis will untap and take a draw step here. There is a swamp. Here is a Thopter Spy Network and a Hangerback Walker. Somebody's about to take a hit. Never a good feeling.
Setup turn there for Jim. Setup turn of sorts. The upshot is he gets to make a sea of chump blockers now going forward and attack with Hangerback Walker in the most optimistic of worlds to be drawing the cards off the Spy Network.
Dragon Lord Ojutai does hit, which means Harlan Fear gets to anticipate. Take a look at 3 cards, take 1. Now he'll resolve a dig through time. So dig will resolve. Harlan will take a look at, again, the top 7. Take 2 with him. A lot of 3-mana spells there. Whirling Outburst, along with Mantis Rider, I believe in multiple copies of each. There's a Temple. Take a look at the top card.
You know what that would have been a good turn for?
What's that?
Anger of the Gods.
You're actually right. It would have been okay.
It would have been the best turn possible for the card.
This is as good as it gets. Here comes Hangerback. Not hanging back anymore.
Yep.
Card is bananas.
Hanging up.
That's sort of what it's doing.
Bioblight's a great draw here also for Jim, as Harlan may attack next turn. You can chump block, which on the surface just looks like a reasonable chump block.
Yep.
Bioblight to finish off. Though, facing down the Thopter Spy Network, Harlan may hang back on defense a little bit next turn.
There's no backwater, will gain a life. It's Mantis Rider. It's Beatdowns. See how Jim wants to play it here.
I think this is a nice opportunity to chump block the Dragon Lord Ojutai and try to finish it off with Bioblight.
Yeah, that's what he's going to do.
It just looks like that's something Jim would do anyway.
Yeah.
So Harlan might use his other mana, his leftover mana on other stuff this turn, and then you don't have to worry about a counter spell or any sort of other trick.
Jim going to sacrifice blue to Delta. And Bioblight might be on the way right now. And it is. That's going to go after Dragon Lord Ojutai. And that's not a card that can be Disdainful Stroke, so it lines up really, really well.
Yep.
There goes Dragon Lord Ojutai. Now I think we'll see Davis try to resolve dig through time. I'll have to delve away the graveyard to do so. And Fear deciding if he wants to use the Disdainful Stroke here. It appears that he does. Jim with a negate. Does dig resolve? The answer is yes. Davis might be pulling away now.
Yeah, Harlan had to give that slight pause there because why would Jim delve away the graveyard and leave himself with 2 mana left over? Clash of Wills isn't really a factor, but Harlan can't allow the dig through time to resolve anyway. His hand's forced to just try to counter it, but Jim was ready with negate.
Had a great answer. Another Bioblight, perhaps? Yep. You see, these are the additions that black gets for this deck that the white version does not. Here's another Thopter Spy Network.
Yeah, you're not messing around with cards like, you know, Valorous Dance and Last Breath. The removal is so much better.
It is quite good. Hero's Downfall, even though it is a little expensive, it's super clean
Yeah.
as an answer. And Bioblight is an interesting card because you take a look at Bioblight Nobson. It's a card that you can't play a lot of copies of anymore because of the mana base, especially with the addition of Nissa because you want to play more Forest. But this is a deck that actually wants to play quite a few copies of Bioblight, and Bioblight's a really well-positioned card right now.
Yes.
It's just that Obzon can't play a lot of copies of it, and they have to make sacrifices elsewhere because of that. So you've got a deck here that Jim Davis is playing where he gets to play quite a few copies of Bioblight, and it's looked very good.
And people, in the way that they play games and in the construction of their decks, they're paying way less attention to Bioblight than they used to.
Yep.
And part of that, as you mentioned, it's a factor of the Obzon decks. They don't really play with that card anymore. There's far fewer copies than there used to be because the mana doesn't support it as easily.
Oh, I mean, you can just talk to a lot of people, and they'll just say, yeah, I mean, I don't expect people to have Bioblight this week, and they might have one copy in their 75.
Yep.
And for the most part, they're right. But if there's a deck that can play a lot of copies of Bioblight, it's certainly the one that Jim's playing, and it has been impressive thus far. See a day through time resolve there for Harlan. And Davis is making Thopters, and he's drawing some cards. It's go time. There's Oshai's command. Wants to get back at Jace. Again, the situation here for Harlan, it's not so much that his draw is that bad. It's just that he's just got a lot of C's.
Yeah. Jim's deck is a lot leaner and more efficient. The game that we saw Harlan win, Jim couldn't cast any of his stuff. But these games, it feels like, Harlan's got Stoke the Flames in his hand, for example, and he has to go through great lengths to make Stoke the Flames worth a card. Whereas Jim is casting cards like Ultimate Price and Bioblight that are just interacting very well with the threats that Harlan's bringing to the table.
And now he's digging through time. He'll take a dissolve. Didn't get a great look at the other card, but he's moving pretty quick, so he's pretty happy with what he's found. You can tell he's in the driver's seat now, too. He's pumping out Thopters. He's drawing cards. He's living good. Live totals might be in Harlan's favor, but that might be the only thing. He'll start by playing a mountain. Davis will play Artificer's Epiphany. 2 cards coming. Now here's a dig through time for Fear. This one's going to be a little more expensive. Only 3 cards in the graveyard to delve away. So we'll take a look at the top 7, of course. Take 2 with him. One thing to note, Harlan does have 4 mana available at this point. So that's Oshai's command. That's Stoke the Flames. A couple other cards as well. Looks like he's going to try to resolve a Stoke right now. And this brings it Davis down to 8.
Harlan's got 2 Stokes left over in his hand right now, so it's not inconceivable. Jim does have a dissolve, but at least Harlan's trying to play towards something.
Jim will draw. 2 more Thopters made. Got 5 total on the battlefield and a Hangerback Walker.
Jim could really use a Radiant Fountain. This would be a really good time for Radiant Fountain.
It would be a good time for Radiant Fountain. You are right. The last thing he needs is another Dark Cell Citadel. Dismal Backwater will work.
Oh, yeah. A heartbreaker for Harlan.
The real dagger there, up to 9. Looks like it's time for Jim to discard. His hand is so stacked.
Harlan has identified what he needs to do here. So far, Grandmaster Resolves is another path to maybe get to rebuy a Stoke.
Looks like it might resolve. Jim doing some math. I think Jim realizes that's one of the few ways he can lose this game, just getting burned out now.
Yeah.
So he just wants to make sure that that doesn't happen to the best of his ability.
I mean, the Stoke last turn from Harlan would indicate that's the type of play he's on right now.
That is time in round number 9. Round 9 of the schedule is over. This is a reminder that all players who are tied with 64th place
Here's a dig.
match points are qualified for day 2. You do not need to stick around.
And Jim is just looking for a removal spell for Soulfire Grandmaster and counter spells. That is it. He found Downfall and Negate, which is just what the doctor ordered.
Pretty good, yeah. And he's going to untap now. 2 more Thopters. Hangerback Walker, the draw. Hero's Downfall. Harlan wants to Stoke. With buyback. I don't think Jim wants to let him, though.
No chance.
Yep, dissolve that. Looks like a scry will stay to the top. Beatdowns. 6 damage will come across. It's a 2-turn clock here for Davis. He'll draw 2 cards. 2 Thopter Spy Networks on the battlefield after all. Darksteel Citadel. Now Tassiger. Well, don't get burned out.
Tough to do from 9, and
Yeah.
I believe Negate's still in hand.
It is. And that's going to do it. Jim Davis is going to win this match here over Harlan Fair, 2-1. Blue Black Control with Dr. Spy Network is going to move on to 7-2. And Jim in some pretty good position here for day 2 competition.
This is about how you would draw it up from the blue-black control side of the table. You had 1 game of the 3 where the mana doomed him because he had Darksteel Citadels and couldn't cast his double black spells.